love is running low. No one can lift it easy. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me and you can read me anything. The book of love has music in it. It's like that's where music comes from. Some of it's just transcendental. Some of it's just really dumb. But I love it when you sing to me. And you can sing me anything. The book of love is long and boring and written very long ago. It's full of flowers, heart-shaped boxes, and things we're all too young to know. But I love it when you give me things, and you want to give me weddings, and I love it when you give me things, and you want to give me wedding rings. You want to give me wedding rings.
Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast, The Storm. We're socially awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello, everyone, and it's lovely to see you all.
And I am your host, last time more wannabe, the brainstormer of pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am doing pretty well. My Valentine's Day actually wasn't that bad because my mom got me some candy and gave me $50 to spend on Amazon, which I then immediately spent on books and a 2-disc DVD set of a TV show that I like. So I was happy. And yes, the chocolate was the fancy frou-frou kind that I like. So sue me.
We'll talk about that. We'll actually go on a little bit of tangent there for a moment. I'm going to put the link in the Discord for this episode real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because I forgot to do that earlier. But yeah, I had okay, I suppose. Not just yeah, no, it's just nothing really happened. I mean, to be fair, it was just another day to me.
Apart from the thing that Brainstorm and I talked about before stream,
Well,
which we won't go into here.
Valentine's Day was Tuesday. This happened on Friday, so
Yeah.
So I don't technically count that. To be fair.
Anyway, on with the shoe.
Well, no, I didn't want to talk about the Valentine's Day chocolate thing. I've never really gotten into those. I think I've
Yeah,
tried.
you just haven't found the right chocolate.
Well, I get like the okay. To be fair, I don't think they're fancy, but they're the kind that you buy like in the heart shaped boxes or
Yeah, yeah.
the stacked things.
Hmm.
To be fair, I'm not. I don't like the fillings within them. You know.
Yeah, again, it's probably just you haven't found the right chocolate thing. Although, in addition to all the fancier ones, I also did get a bag of Reese's peanut butter chocolate hearts because for all of my refinement and erudition, I am a basic bitch when it comes to Reese's peanut butter.
Yeah, I think the ones I kind of dislike the most are the ones with the strawberry uh, filling in them.
But then again, you, to the best of my recollection, aren't really a fruit person either, are you?
Not particularly no, but to be fair, it's just like I don't. It's weird because I like certain things that taste like fruit, that have fruit flavoring to them, but the like strawberry stuff, like it's just so it doesn't taste good to me. Hello, Dragon Turtle.
Hello, Dragon Turtle.
But I don't know. I'll be honest. I think it's also kind of a thing. Like I don't particularly like chocolate either, like that certain brand of chocolate, like generic dark chocolate stuff.
Yeah, it really depends for me. I really like dark chocolate and I really like white chocolate, but I'm not the biggest fan of milk chocolate unless there's something else to it, usually. Like this year, I got a bunch of chocolate covered uh, cashew caramel clusters, which were freaking fantastic. And normally, one of the things I like best is chocolate covered cherries, like cordial cherries, because oh my god, ever since I was a little kid, I've loved cherries. Like I would sit there with a bowl of maraschino cherries and literally just eat them. Whenever my mom would go out to this restaurant and bar that she liked, um, I obviously couldn't have much because bar, but I would always ask them to bring me a bowl full of cherries. And yes, I'm also aware of the irony that cherries are something that fairies tend to obsess over. So once again, the Dalton was predestined to bargain his life away to the Queen of Winter. It appears to be a consistent theme with my life when I look back at it. Like this was probably inevitable. But actually, that's kind of comforting because it means that I'm doing something that I was always meant to do, and that's better. Doing something that's already in my nature to do makes me happy. Anyway, enough about the things that will make Dalton hungry, especially because he hasn't eaten today. I mean, I guess I could bust out the rest of the chocolate, but that's not particularly healthy. So I'll have like half a smaller box full, and then three Godiva truffles.
But again,
So
like I said, I'm not like I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of chocolate. I kind of lost my after I've eaten like God, I think it was like a fudge cake or something. You kind of lose the you lose
you OD'd. You literally had a death by chocolate.
kind of yeah. I just I'll be honest. I kind of to be fair, my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip. So
Yeah, I've always ever I really I went through a phase where mint chocolate chip was my favorite. Um probably because one of the things that the show Johnny Test was always good at was making me crave mint chocolate chip ice cream.
so yeah, we are going to finish the article that we started last week.
The
Um,
listicle. The remarkably stupid listicle.
yeah, why Valentine's Day is the worst for Inside.com. Again, the links are down below if you guys want to actually read those articles. But I mean, you're here, so I doubt you guys want to.
Yeah, I imagine watching us react to them is a lot more fun than actually reading them.
Yeah,
And I
so
don't blame you.
and for simplicity's sake, just so we have context for the things we didn't read before, I am going to start at the beginning of this section that we started last week but ended. And again, this was published in 2019, so it is a bit old.
It's weird to me that 2019 is a little bit old. It doesn't seem like that long ago. Then
will,
again, 2020 seemed like 3 or 4 years packed into one, so it does feel a little long.
well, I mean, relative to the article, because was that would be
in 2019, the biggest controversy we had to worry about was the Joker movie. In every year since 2019, we've had to deal with the world possibly ending at the drop of any given hat.
right. Okay, so there are high expectations for the night to be perfect, which is actually more likely to harm your relationship than help it.
Once again, your expectations are your business, and the reason why you have those expectations is usually probably due, or at least it is due for most people, from the fact that people care about people and they want to spoil and impress and just demonstrate their love for them. So, yeah, that's not a negative thing. That is an entirely positive thing.
You know?
Yeah.
Once you keep in mind that was just a title.
I know, but I was just, the you started in the you started at the title of the previous one, so I just wanted to summarize kind of the previously made objections to it. Anyway, go on.
Fair enough. There are lots of high expectations around Valentine's Day for couples, from the perfect gifts and the fanciest dinner to the notion of everlasting love and romance. That's a lot of pressure for two people on just one day of the year.
And again, I believe I said this last time too, but that pressure is probably mostly a good thing, or at least under normal circumstances, it's a good thing because that pressure is derived from how much you care about and want to impress or spoil your significant other. If you are internalizing that as a burden, that says awfully negative things about how you view your obligations to your significant others. And if you feel burdened by your obligations to your significant others, then it's possible that that other isn't all that significant, in which case you're probably not in a good relationship. Either you are not in a good relationship with that other person, or that other person is not in a good relationship with you. Or most likely both, because it takes two to tango, and very often broken, fucked up people tend to be drawn to each other. It's one of the sad ironies of people with, shall we say, borderline abusive issues. They often find people who will simultaneously abuse them and who they can also abuse. It's actually kind of sad. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but nevertheless, my point is that most people are not burdened by their desire to spoil and impress their significant others. And if you feel burdened by it, you might well be the problem. Either you or your significant other or the relationship in general might be the problem there.
Yeah, not sure if I get this one, so you might need to explain this for me, Don. Edward says, "What? No solo tango?" I don't. I feel like I'm a bit. I feel like it's an innuendo for something. And I'm not getting it.
I believe it's a masturbation joke.
Okay.
Because tango is a dance with two partners, so a solo tango would be. And now you get the innuendo.
No, I got it. Yeah, I guess it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I have a weird. My humor is weird.
We're all mad here.
Yeah. That or I'm just like how you often put it. I'm just too innocent sometimes.
You are, but that's also one of your best qualities, so don't try to change it.
Right.
You are too pure for this world, and the world is better off for it.
Yeah, this is where we stopped, I think. So all that pressure. No, okay. All that pressure on relationships during Valentine's Day can actually harm relationships, even leading to breakups. A study tracking Facebook breakup statuses found that couples tend to break up more often after Valentine's Day.
And again, I believe I mentioned this last time, but I will, I will repeat for the sake of summarizing and catching everyone up. If your relationship is so delicate that it can be broken by the simple act of you both trying to show the other that you care about them, then it's certainly not Valentine's Day's fault that happened. It's probably just a matter of the fact that you had relationship problems that you weren't dealing with, and having to burden yourself, quote unquote, with having to show your significant other that you care about them was enough to be the straw that broke the camel's back. And I say this because under I hate the word normal. Normal is immaterial here. But point being, under most people's circumstances, when they're in a happy, stable, mutually beneficial, lucrative relationship, showing each other their love for each other by putting extra effort in usually ends up making people grow closer. If it makes you grow further apart, then it means that whatever mechanism that binds you two together is an aberrant one that you probably weren't addressing very well. And so putting the extra strain of putting the extra effort in onto that relationship was enough to snap it like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Which again boils back down to it being a you problem, not a problem that you can lay at the feet of all Valentine's Day kind. Moving on.
Right. Sorry, cracking my neck here. All right. Further, as Jonathan Fader, with Dr. Jonathan Fader, PhD, writes, Psychology Today, high expectations are more likely to set us up for disappointment, especially if those expectations are for one single day.
Not if you actually are willing to put the effort in to get the thing you expect. Because that's the thing. High expectations coupled with effort leads to greater happiness. Because you actually find a way to actualize your expectations. Your problem, and not just you, but a lot of people's problem, seems to be that their high expectations come as an entitlement. They expect that all they have to do is want something, and then a fairy godmother will show up and wave their wand, and everything will just fall into place. Which, speaking as someone with a 16-year veteran of the occult here, magic doesn't even work that way, even if you do believe in magic and so on and so forth. And you're certainly not going to get that kind of instant gratification wish fulfillment from a fairy. So if you're hoping for the storybook ending, I'm gonna have to burst your bubble here and say the Grimm brothers sanitized the living fuck out of the old stories, and you're not gonna get something for nothing out of any supernatural entity, as far as we know. Moving on. Also, hi, Ahsoka.
Right. God. Part of me thinks I might need to get a neck pillow or something.
That might explain why you're having such issues sleeping if you're dealing with body aches and pains and stuff.
I think it's just how I sleep. To be fair, I have like these pillows that I've had for like years, so I might need new ones as well.
Uh-huh. I don't like seeing my buddy in pain, so
It's not bad or anything. I just, you know,
I know, but if it's long term affecting your sleep schedule, then it's a problem. I would advise you to take sleeping pills, but I know you don't do well with pills. Although there are liquid sleep aids you probably could take.
I've used those before. Okay. Thinking about Valentine's Day as the special day reserved for showing love can also take away from daily practices of love and appreciation, according to Peter.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, sorry. Thinking about Valentine's Day as this special day reserved for showing love can also take away from daily practices of love and appreciation, according to Peter. Okay, so
Only if you're an idiot.
may I? Because
Yes, go ahead.
it's so much what I've said about Valentine's Day. Obviously, I'm not. Obviously, the difference is I don't condone the like cancelization of Valentine's Day. Celebrate if you want to celebrate. It's just not for me, right?
Yeah, and as my rebuttal has been to you, as it will be here, Valentine's Day doesn't mean only show love on this day and fuck all the rest of the 364, or I guess
Right.
340 because there are other special love-based days, but it means spend as much, as much effort as you can or as much effort as you like all the rest of the days, but this day is specifically demarcated to go the extra mile with, which to me seems like a much healthier approach to this than.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. I'm just again, it's just my own personal.
And I'm not disputing your approach either. Of like, if you as an individual don't feel like celebrating it, then by all means. I mean, there's something internally that bugs me about that because I love holidays and holidays should be marked, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. There's something that will always rub me the wrong way about that, but that's neither here nor there. But saying that the special demarcation of Valentine's Day is a reason not to celebrate it is possibly the single stupidest thing I've ever heard. And that's a wide list of things that I have heard. I mean, we've been doing this show for what, more than, what are we on, like 205, 210?
205.
Yeah. So we've been doing this show for 205 episodes, and that's not even counting all the one-offs and standalones and extra episodes that we did back before StreamYard put a hour limit on us. So yeah, like I have seen a lot of stupid in my time, both in a documentable context like this and elsewise. But that's still one of the single stupidest things I've ever heard. If you genuinely are the type of person who feels like putting the extra effort into Valentine's Day means you can't put the extra effort in any other day of the year, then once again we are left with the "it's a you" problem issue. Because to most sane people, they either do what Brainstormer does and try to intersperse the love they would spend on Valentine's Day throughout the rest of the year, or they do what I've suggested, which is do as much loving things as you can all the time, but put a little bit of extra oomph into Valentine's Day. Like those are the two sane options. Either avoid Valentine's Day entirely because, you have a principled objection to it, like Brainstormer, as an individual, or you can acknowledge that holidays are for what holidays are for, and acknowledge that they don't mean only this day is important to express these values, but these values are always important, and we have a special day a special time or a special period to demark them because they are important and deserve to have extra effort put into them. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. Ed Brewer says, I endorse CBD. It will help you sleep, bro. What's CBD?
It's oil that is refined from the hemp plant.
Is it basically a drug?
Hmm?
Is it basically a drug?
I mean, only in the loosest sense. It's about as much of a drug as other essential oils.
Well, I guess also the question is, how much does it cost? Because that it could be a problem for me.
I mean, not terribly much. Like it also depends on how much of it you get. Like you can. I can't imagine it would set you back too much.
Anyway, next portion of this.
Yeah.
The holiday has really dark origins. I don't think, you know what, actually, now that I think about it, I don't think we've ever done a history of Valentine's Day.
I think we have at least once before, but I can't remember.
I can't. I do so many of these. It's just it all blends for me.
Yeah, but the point worth addressing here is so do all of the other frickin' holidays. Even the basic bitch secular ones like Thanksgiving. Like all holidays have at least some darkness to them because to some extent you need the darkness and the light to come together to make the kind of special day that we're talking about. Like that's Christmas wouldn't be anywhere near as meaningful without Halloween and vice versa. Like darkness and light balancing each other is kind of what makes these holidays special. But in the bygone, Bronze Age or Iron Age, just one step removed from cavemen period of human survival, every aspect of human existence had a darker tone to it because we were just one step removed from the freaking cave. Anyway, moving on.
Hold on. God damn it, my glasses. Sorry, I got like a little. I might have to get new glasses. Or just like glass cleaner. God damn.
Yeah, that would be useful. I used to have glasses and they got smudged to hell and it would always give me a fucking headache.
Sometimes I can't tell if it's just my eyes messing up for a second or it's the glasses themselves.
Mm.
Okay. Valentine's Day actually originates from a couple of pretty grim stories. According to NPR, initially mid-February was when the Roman fertility festival of Lupercalia, that's how you say it, right?
Yes.
Was held, where men sacrificed a goat and a dog and reportedly whipped women with the hides of dead animals in the hopes of increasing the woman's fertility.
I mean, also to be fair, the Veneralalia is another contributing factor to Valentine's Day being the festival of Venus and so on.
Oh, I was. For the record,
Wolves were associated with like Dionysus and Bacchus and I forget what the animal association for Venus was, but yeah.
You want me to look it up real quick, just so we know?
No, we don't have to.
Well, it's just, I mean, we bring it up, so it just feels like.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Go ahead. I want to say rabbits, but I know that's not right. That's Demeter and Aurora, and that's more Easter direction and Valentine's Day.
Okay, animals associated with Venus?
Yes.
Would Aphrodite work as well because, they're...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're not identical, but they're, for all intents and purposes, the same being.
Okay. Okay, Roman goddess. Seen a few here. Okay. Snake, dove, swallow, and swan.
Mm. Okay, yeah, but point being, the Lupercalia and the Venerology kind of the Venerali I can't speak. The Veneralia kind of merged and became what we now know as Valentine's Day. And then, of course, the Christians got a hold of it, and they associated it with a saint rather than a deity, and then Bob's your uncle, and here we are.
Moving on, or
Yep.
According to Britannica, though, Valentine's Day may have gotten its name from the execution of a priest named Valentine by Roman Emperor Claudius II on February 14th during the 3rd century.
Yes, both of these things are simultaneously true, and also you left out the Veneralia, but never mind.
According to other accounts, however, the holiday is named after Saint Valentine of Terni, bishop that was martyred in 269 CE for marrying Christian couples.
Yes, this is also true, and again, this is...
I remember reading that story in elementary school.
I think we all did. It's like the one time that Valentine's Day is mentioned, and then later, if you're the type of person who regularly researches history, you find out about the older pagan stuff.
Mm.
Anyway, point being, all of these things are simultaneously true because, as usual, Christians, when they were converting polytheistic people to the new religion, would take festivals that already existed and put a Christian spin on them to ease conversion. It happened all the frickin' time.
Mm. The day became established as a holiday by Pope Gelasius I at the end of the 5th century, but formal Valentines didn't appear until the 1500s.
Yeah, because there was a resurgence of romantic love and the culture of romantic love around the Renaissance, and so they basically took the opportunity of celebrating Valentine's Day to get literally romantic.
Moving on?
Yeah.
No. Valentine's Day encourages comparison, which isn't good for anyone.
Only if you are insecure as all fuck, you very, very unself-aware bitch, you.
I mean, to be fair, I think we all did that when we were pretty young.
But, okay, comparison is a healthy and rational thing that needs to be done on occasion.
Fair enough. That's okay.
And comparison only makes you feel bad if you are unself-aware and don't acknowledge your own worth.
Yeah, it's okay.
And or if you overestimate the worth of other people. Which, granted, is a thing that happens, but you can't just go, comparison makes me feel bad, so outlaw all comparison. That's like, that's actually that's so stupid it borders on evil, actually.
No, I don't got anything to say to that, so. Okay, I think I'm starting to feel the tiredness, okay. I honestly, like, a part of me wants to stop waking up so early, but I also kind of have to.
Because you have to take care of your uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also, it's been the most steady sleep schedule I've had so far, so. As pictures of happy couples flood your social media page on Valentine's Day. Glad I don't really have social media like that anymore. Not for the comparison thing. It's just more so. It's just kind of annoying, you know.
Yeah, I don't understand this. Like, do you actually resent other people's happiness, or does it simply bother you that you are not the best person ever in any given circumstance? Is the thing that makes you annoyed about other people's happiness the fact that some people might be happier or better than you? Well, I'm sorry, but no matter who you are, and no matter how powerful you are, and no matter how many skills and talents and qualities you have, someone somewhere has a quality that you do not have that is a worthwhile quality to have. You either can account for this by acknowledging that people are individuals with their own individual freaking natures and excel at the things that your nature allows you to excel at and allow other people to excel at the things they excel at. Or you could try some semblance of self improvement, or you could just have the self awareness to not need to be the center of the universe or the bestest thing in the universe at any given moment. You, this is what frustrates me. It's almost like you either have to be the best, like no one ever was, to make a Pokemon reference, or there should be no hierarchy at all, and the very notion of quality should be abolished. Like, you either are winning at everything, or the very notion of a competition should be gone. And that's frankly disturbing. Sometimes you lose. Sometimes you're not the best at everything. Deal the fuck with it. Be happy there are some things you probably are the best at and move on. And yes, I had to learn that lesson the hard way because there was someone in my elementary school and later in my high school who was better at virtually everything than me. But I realized that the things he was better at were mostly normal things that I didn't really want to or need to excel at anyway. So I just decided to become the weirdest, most iconoclastic, cool person that I am by embracing all the weird aspects of my nature. And you know what? I'm happier that way because, frankly, the things that most people give a shit about, I couldn't care less about. Someone who's hyper capable and hyper competent at those areas is very, very attractive to me. Hence why I basically look for my opposite whenever I'm talking about dating. But if I had a choice between being what I am and being different than what I am, I wouldn't even make that choice. Because frankly, being the best version of me is better for me than being good at any number of other things that I don't even particularly care about or like.
Dalton?
Moving on.
So let me restart that because I was cut off mid sentence.
Sorry.
As pictures of happy couples flood your social media page on Valentine's Day, it can be easy to question your own relationship. You might start to wonder how your relationship compares to these seemingly picture perfect ones. This mentality, however, can be both destructive and misleading.
Again, only if you are an insecure little bitch who has no concept of self-improvement. Or embracing who you are to the highest degree and hang the consequences. Like, some combination of the two or either of those options are good options. Refusing to allow anyone to compare anything because you find that some of the comparisons result in you not winning is bullshit.
To be fair, I don't really see that stuff anymore just because I kind of stopped using that particular type of social media.
The only time that sometimes happens to me is if it's someone that I would otherwise want to be with. Like like for example, when I found out that the guy I had a crush on all through high school got married, it did bother me for like 2 seconds. And then I realized if I actually care about him, I should want him to be happy. And so um I was able to congratulate him for getting married.
Hmm.
It still bothers me sometimes because he is my gold standard for what I find attractive in guys, but being as I'm gay, I can't expect everyone else to be gay, like or bisexual. Like I can't sadly enough, most people are going to be straight, and that means I'm going to find people attractive who I never have any chance with. So much the pity. And here's the other thing: even if everyone on Earth was bisexual, I would still have that problem because I'm sure there are straight people who have that same thing where like they like people who are way above their league and they know they're way above their league, but they still want them, even if they know they can't have them. Like this is a thing we have to get over, guy. You know, we all are aware of this. Sometimes we want things that we simply cannot have, and the best we can do is find the next closest surrogate to what we want, or to make something new of our own. Like these are the correct options. The incorrect options is I can't stand to see anyone else happy, so no one can ever look happier than me. It's, so much of this is literally you have problems, and the entire rest of the world or existence needs to pay for the fact that you have problems.
Mm. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
Da, 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 Marie Hartwell Walker, ED, Ed D. I confronted this issue for Psych Central writing. It's ridiculous to compare yourself with what you only think is going on, according to Hartwell Walker, because you can never really know what's going on in someone else's relationship. It's all too easy to idealize what you see on social media and end up feeling down about your own relationship. I mean, that's
Okay, that's actually a fair point. Yeah, social media doesn't very often show the whole picture. And here's the other thing, person who writes this article, I'm sure you are this person to other people. Like I'm sure some people look at your social media and see then groan about how awesome your life looks. Because social media basically does what suburbia used to do in the form of and this is something that you'll know even if you've watched a show about suburbia, like say Desperate Housewives. Suburbia is Suburbia's main virtue and vice simultaneously is it forces everyone into the highest standard of perfection as they can. And as a result, very often people in suburbia slowly drive each other insane because they all put on the fake facade of being perfect while simultaneously screaming in existential horror whenever the eyes of the world are on them. But now social media basically does that for the whole world. What used to be a condition primarily confined to upper middle class twits in suburban gated communities is now something we all have to deal with because of basically photo filters and selective statuses. You can counteract this by being honest on social media, you know. Like I usually try to be. I do my best not to sugarcoat or um or doom and gloom my life. I tried to show as much of my life in as three-dimensional way as possible as I can. And even I'm not perfect at that because I'm sure I post more often when I get new and interesting things. Like I just recently posted a picture of the stuff I bought with the money my mom gave me for Valentine's Day because that's fun. And I also post times when I find something incredibly stupid online and um, spend an unnecessary amount of time rebutting it. I often do that as well. But just the same, I also have a tendency to post, which I probably should avoid posting when I'm morbidly depressed or suicidal. But you know, what are you gonna do? I had to vent it somewhere. But yeah, you could counteract this problem with social media by simply being honest on your social media. But that would require you to occasionally admit you have flaws, and as we just covered, you are not good at doing that. Again, we run into the problem of you have no self-awareness, and so Valentine's Day and by extension the rest of the world needs to pay for your lack of self-awareness. moving on.
Yo.
Hey, correct.
Hello, Corrupt.
Hello, everybody.
We're finishing up the listicle from last week.
All right, nice.
All right. Though Valentine's Day is all about love, it actually leaves people out. So you came at a really fun time, correct?
Are you fucking serious? Like any
We're-
celebration. Go ahead, don't.
I'm sure we're doing the, but it's all heterosexual herder thing again.
Listen,
Actually, sorry. But before we do, actually, how was your Valentine's Day, corrupt? Because we talked about ours before.
oh yeah. My Valentine's Day was just typical. I just went to work. That's pretty much it. Like I just went to work. I didn't really do anything for it. I'm not with anyone currently, which is probably good for me. But like,
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you're not. I love you, dude, but you're not good at picking people.
and like, like the last. So okay, so the last. So I've mostly only gone out with women. I think I've only gone out with one dude, and that relationship was terrible. Like he had no like he didn't want to do
This was the guy you
anything.
let like $100 and never paid you back, even though he's
Yes.
loaded.
Yeah, this is okay. So he is somebody Dalton would hate, right? He's like one of these like philosophy fucking people who talk about like philosophy and all this other shit, but he's like a complete fucking hypocrite about it. Like he was such an awful fucking
He's a
person.
postmodern critical theorist, was how you described him to me last time.
Yes.
Oh God.
And so okay, so basically my relationship with him went like this to keep it short. Like I would say something like he didn't want to do anything because it was long distance. So most of our relationship consisted of me talking to him occasionally and him like giving one word responses. I'm just like, why even be in a relationship with like this
If
when
you're not going to actually be in the relationship. Yeah.
I could just go out with a plant or just date a crazy chick. Like there's a ton of them. And they're
The world is never quite running dry of crazy chicks, are they?
pretty much no, like I could have just gone out with a crazy girl because at least there's a ton of them. They're always up to fuck and like they're at least attractive. Like what the fuck? My first experience with a man and it was fucking awful. Like holy shit.
Was this guy at least cute?
He was moderately attractive, I guess. It was mostly my reasons for going out with him were because I had never been out with a man before and I was curious. Because
Oh well, that's a darn shame.
I was curious and I had never been out with a man before. So I was just like, what I wonder what it's like to go out with dudes because I prefer dudes to women, but I've never gone out with anything that hasn't had a vagina. So I wanted to give it a try. Worst
And
experience of my life.
unfortunately, you just weren't good at picking them.
That's what it seems like. I'm not very. That's what it seems like. I've always that, and I find it awkward to flirt with men. It's easier to flirt with women because I'm used to it, but not with men because I like I have no idea what to say to another man. But with women, it's easy because that's what my main
Yeah,
thing has been.
you're used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the listicle.
Yeah. Actually, I'm actually gonna pop out real quick. I think I need to fix my internet real quick because I don't know from your guys' side, but to me, you guys were coming out kind of like robotic through that whole conversation.
All right, I can hear how Dalton's Valentine's Day went then.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was actually pretty good. My mom usually gets me and my brothers candy and stuff on Valentine's Day, so
That's
she
awesome.
did that again, and she also gave me $50 to spend on Amazon, which I spent on a couple new books and a 2-disc DVD of a show that I like. So that was pretty good.
Damn, you had a good fucking Valentine's Day. Holy shit.
Yeah.
The only thing I got for my Valentine's Day was more fucking debt because my mom was like, I want you to order my friends a bunch of like shit and then tell them like from me. And I was like, okay.
Why?
Like because my mom likes to do nice things for her friends. So I'm like so she's like, "Hey, would you do this for my friend?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I ordered them some like sweet things from DoorDash
Ah, okay.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and it was just like and she was pretty happy with it. So I'm like, "All right." Cost me like not $80. Like fuck DoorDash. It's so fucking expensive. But
I
like go ahead.
I'm kind of grateful that I live in the middle of freaking nowhere and we don't really have DoorDash very much.
You don't order to eat?
I mean, no. Mom gets her groceries from Walmart that way now, just because it's easier than actually going out. But um, we don't. Apart from Amazon, obviously, we don't really have um like direct to order things like Uber Eats or I don't even think we
Really?
really have Uber here much.
Where do you? Not where do you live? I can't. Oh, I never told you my. Hold on, I forgot to tell you my name. I'm gonna.
You did. You
I
did.
just.
Although in fairness, we were in the middle of one of the single stupidest fights we've ever had. But
I
it's fine.
will. I will text you my name. Hold on.
But in any case, yeah, I live in a very very rural part of northern Pennsylvania that's like 15 minutes away from the New York border. So we basically live in a bubble of the early 2000s still, like infrastructure wise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're like 10 or 20 years behind the any given times. Which I mean, to be fair, also allows us to avoid a lot of the stupidity, but it also takes forever for us to get on board with any of the cool shit.
Yeah, cause like I live in an area that's like 10 years behind everything else, so it's like going back into the past when you come here. But
Yeah.
like but we at least have but the I guess the only redeeming quality that we have here is that we have a bunch of like little restaurants, so if you do have an Uber Eats or something you can just order there.
Mm. Yeah, we don't really
I'm
we don't really
surprised.
we don't really have that because we're extremely rural, so everything it's all spaced out apart too far, so Uber Eats and stuff wouldn't be practical.
So you live in a place where it's not really where it's hard to like where you have to drive everywhere basically to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
I don't because I'm a homebody largely for that reason of like I don't I the effort isn't worth it. There's nothing around here worth really going to very often.
I mean, yeah, like I imagine if you did order Uber Eats or DoorDash, it would probably take like 70 minutes to get there. Like I've had that happen to me just because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't live
like
in a great place.
yeah, like I mean obviously we have fast food and stuff, but at that point it's like just go through the drive-through.
Are you like
And I mean we do have restaurants. It's just they're far enough apart that Uber Eats and stuff would be impractical, and they're more like the kind of places you'd want to go in and sit down at anyway. So
yeah, because it would be like the food would be cold by the time it even got to you. I can see that.
yeah,
Ahsoka, he Brainstormer went went to reset his
reboot
internet.
his computer because he was
Thank you.
having technical issues.
Thank you. It takes my brain like 5 minutes to process information. By the time like I finish a sentence, Dalton has just completed it already.
I I some people find that annoying, so I apologize if it ever does get annoying. But
Oh no, it's not. It's just it takes me forever to like it takes me too long to explain something.
when
So
one of the reasons I do that is because I know when I get tongue tied like that, it pisses me off because it's the idea is right there, but I can't fucking articulate it. So
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how.
Normally I do that to try and help, but some people find it annoying because they think I'm butting into the conversation or something.
I don't know. I'm thankful for that because, like I said, it takes me too long to explain things. Also, Ahsoka Brainstormer has returned. Hello, Brainstormer of pop culture, or that other guy, as Ahsoka Katano Gaming knows you as.
Yeah, you're being a little mean to Brainstormer there, Ahsoka.
I think I'm good. See, the problem is, I have kind of an old router.
Who is Ed Brewer?
You don't remember Ed? Ed's been around for freaking ever.
Do I know him?
He used to. He still is a regular on like Eglantine channels and Comics Division's channels and so on and so
Oh, I
forth.
like. Oh, okay. I remember who he is. I like Comics Division and Eglantine. I like comics. Comics Division still remembers me too. That actually makes me happy because he's like a bigger YouTuber now. But he's just like, oh, I still remember you,
Yeah,
Corrupted.
yeah. He invites me on every so often and whatnot. It's cool.
That's
Al-
awesome.
Although usually he invites me on if I find something. If I find something I think he'd be interested in talking about, I would usually send it to him. And if he decides to talk about it, he usually uh, sends me the link so I can say my
Like
2 cents as well.
Comics Division got kind of mad at, got kind of annoyed with me because like I disappear, or I used to disappear a lot, and I would never be like I'm never around as much because of my
Yeah,
job and
yeah.
stuff
It
like
is
that.
like I've made peace with that. I've understood that you're not exactly entirely in control of when you show up because.
My job is like really, really. My job's a bitch. So
But yeah, I can understand why comics would find that unusual and annoying. Although to be fair, of all the old school like Comicsgate folks that got big, Comics Division is the most down to earth, I think.
I like Comics Division. Like like I don't really have. There isn't anyone I dislike. Like I like Nerdrotic. I may disagree with some of his takes, but I like Nerdrotic. I think he's cool. I
I
think
mean,
he's a cool guy.
I don't dislike Gary because I mean Gary's an old friend of mine and he probably always will be, but I do think he kind of got in with the wrong crowd and they kind of dragged him along because like
I mean,
it
like
does. A lot of his opinions don't really strike me as his opinions. They strike me as like um him kind of going along with other people's opinions,
I
and
don't like.
that kind of makes me sad.
I don't really think so because like a lot of his like he's gotten into arguments with people that he hangs out with too about certain things. I think those are
Uh,
his genuine
guys,
opinions. What's
Yeah.
up?
Anyway, let's get back into the listicle now that everything is back in order.
All right, hey, I'm excited.
you sound excited.
I do because I am.
Though, so let me restart that. Though Valentine's Day is all about love, it actually leaves people out.
No.
Wait, how does it lead people? Oh, is it one of those like Dalton? What is it you said earlier, Dalton?
It's all
It's like
heteronormative,
it.
therefore it's marginalizing the gays and
It's just like
Actually, no, you are actually wrong for one of the very few times you're wrong, Dalton.
Okay, I'm curious because if it's not going to be but
according
my heteronormativity route, I don't know where it's gonna go.
we're
Uh,
single.
even
Okay.
though hold on, even though the day is supposedly all about love, it's really just about romantic relationships, which leaves out single people, and there are a lot of single people.
Okay, but it's about romantic love is the thing. Like it's not just this nebulous like hippie style free love thing. It's Valentine's Day is very specifically about romantic love. So yes, that usually requires there to be a second person at least a second person in a relationship because of course polyamory is a thing. But that's neither here nor there.
All right.
Like in order for Valentine's Day to function, yes, there has to be some focus on romantic love. Yes, like, and that might be annoying for single people. Hello, I'm single. I'm 27 and I'm still a virgin. Like, this is I understand this point, but at the same time, we're back to the thing I said last week of like, just because I can commiserate with you on doesn't being single during Valentine's Day suck, doesn't mean I then go, because I am in pain, no one else is allowed to feel joy or happiness, and this day should be abolished. And grr, like,
I know it's insane. It's like I remember you said something, and which was funny because it was also a bit of a meme. Basically, it said something like when woman sues people for being happy or something like that, and that's basically what this is. It's like, so because someone else is in a relationship and you're single, it's their problem. I mean, sometimes it's their
other people's
problem.
happiness makes me upset, so no one is allowed to be happy.
Exactly.
We will outlaw joy itself, and we will surgically remove the dopamine center of people's brains so they never have to experience joy ever again.
Yeah, then we can all be sad drones like this person. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, people aren't allowed to celebrate a day because it makes some people who are single unhappy because it reminds them of the fact that they can't find someone. I'm sorry you can't find someone, but that's not my fault. I don't have to take care of the world.
And also, like, there are single people who take this a slightly different route, and this is kind of where I'm at with it, where it's like, yes, I'm single on Valentine's Day, but it gives me something to aspire to later. Like, when I find my hypothetical future significant other, you know, I rather than feeling put upon and aggrieved because I'm single on Valentine's Day, I can turn it into a positive and say I will aspire to, whenever I find my hypothetical future significant other, I will have I'll have plans and things to try with them because I've thought about it on all those Valentine's days when I was single.
Yeah,
Like,
inspires you to want to find somebody.
yeah. And more to the freaking point, because this seems to be a running thing with this writer. You have a problem, and therefore the entire rest of the world, and in particular in this case Valentine's Day, needs to pay because because you are you are in pain, therefore the entire rest of the world needs to pay. Like, that's where you're at. Do you not see how that is both like maledictive in the extreme and also kind of malevolently evil? Like, I am aggrieved, therefore the entire world will suffer along with me.
It's
That's
like
kind of sadistic.
it reminds me of that. What's that Marge Simpson quote where she's like, "I don't like this, and therefore no one else should either," or something like to that effect. And that's basically what it reminds me of. This person doesn't like Valentine's Day because it makes them feel bad, so nobody else should like it either.
And yet, if this person did find a healthy significant other and was happy in their relationship, and someone else tried to take Valentine's Day away from her, she would throw an absolute shit fit.
I'm just surprised it's a woman this time and not some dude.
The preponderance of male feminists is somewhat concerning in the journalism profession, but that's neither here nor there. Um, moving forward though.
According to CNN, 47.3% of the population in the U.S. in 2016, this was published 2019, I just want that to be known, who were 18 or older were single, divorced, widowed, separated, or never married, or around 115.78 million people.
Yeah, because love is complicated and getting ever increasingly more so because people like you project layer upon layer of moralistic authoritarian bullshit onto relationships and make relationships difficult to have in the modern age. If we're being entirely freaking honest with ourselves.
Go like go so go so okay. Go ahead.
Hold on, that's we're not there yet.
All right.
Unless anyone else has anything to say about the previous.
No, I thought we were moving on.
Yeah, no, we can move on. It's just yet another case of like it's yet another case of you 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 see that relationships are complicated, and so your solution is to project even more moralistic bullshit onto them, and thereby make them even more complicated. Like Christopher Hitchens had this quote that he used to apply to the Bible in relation to how um God gave people free will and then criminalizes anything they choose to do with it that he disapproves of. The phrase "you are creating people sick and commanding them to be well." That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Is you are proposing a moralistic system that is going to make relationships even more complicated, and then you're going to sit here and complain about the ways relationships are complicated as an excuse to make them even more moralistic and complicated. You are creating you are creating the very sickness you are professing to solve, and your solution to solve it will only make it worse.
It's it's sort of how it's sort of like the kind of social justice shit that I used to be involved in, where like there were all these like really complicated unspoken rules for how to interact with other people, and it just made interactions in like incredibly awful because it's like
Soul stifling.
exactly because it's like okay, Dalton, you brainstormer and I are friends, right? But like in those circles, you're friends of convenience. So we'd only be friends if we were in those circles. We'd only be friends because we benefit each other. And it's like that shit that's exactly what you described. Reminds me of this person, just like really complicated and awful, like social relationships that are based on like each other's feelings and not offending one another. It's so awful.
It's like I don't even know how I could have a meaningful conversation with someone without being somehow irreverent or crass or flippant or sarcastic or like so much of that shit is how I express affection for people. Like you can always tell how much I like you based on how much I am willing to to bust your balls and so forth and so on. So like
Same here.
I don't know how and why. Not only does that sound like it not only does it sound like it would be unsustainable, it doesn't even seem like it would be worth it in the end. Like it would create a quasi relationship that just would be not worth having.
I mean, I guess for some people it's about building like contacts and social. It's like a bunch of people who are kind of fragile, who sort of like, like orbit together and like kind of come together to form like a friendship, but the friendship itself is so tenuous and the people's temperaments are so fragile, you have to walk on eggshells. It's
Okay,
awful.
maybe I'm being a bit OCD about this, but I'm defaulting back to Aristotle on this because he is the philosopher who I feel had the most intelligent things to say on friendship. He would demarcate the difference here between acquaintances and friends. Like an acquaintance is not a friend and a friend is not an acquaintance. It seems
Yeah.
like these people have oodles and oodles and oodles of acquaintances and not a single meaningful friend as Aristotle would define it.
It's because it's based largely on it's based on the idea of you being an ally more so than a friend, and then those two kind of concepts kind of mingle together, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and and then you have people who feel as if and then you have people who don't like being thought of as allies because it feels like they're being gate kept from actual like friendships with the people they're allies with, and to a degree that's true. It's
Well,
very much
because
complicated and ugly.
if they can't establish a meaningful connection, how is one supposed to be a friend?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't like the term ally, because it's like we're not really friends, we're just like
It's a very martial term of like we are joined together in this end goal, but apart from the end
Exactly.
goal, we have nothing in common,
Oh my
basically.
god, you fucking stole the thought out of my head, Dalton. Thank you. That's exactly where I'm going with that. Yes, that's exactly it.
Anyway, back to the listicle.
Oh yeah. Okay, but yeah, basically the idea you described is pretty much what I'm talking about. It's like this person wants to create this really terrible, like this really punitive environment for what relationships should be, and then complain about it.
You all have to be involved with each other, but if you actually genuinely care about each other for more than 5 seconds, you're doing it wrong somehow.
Pretty much.
God, I can't bring myself to not feel bad for these people at the end of the day, because it's like, imagine living like that. I can't. It sounds like hell. Every time I describe what these people want their utopia to be, it literally sounds like hell. And I'm not even saying hell for the rest of us, hell for me, hell for the people I care about. I'm saying it's hell for the people who are instituting it, let alone everything else.
It's miserable and fueled by guilt and like weird ambition.
Guys,
Yeah. Anyway, moving back
All
to
right,
the thing.
go forward march.
I'm not gonna lie, I was half asleep when you guys were talking.
Well, yeah, Brainstormer got up at 6 today, and so
Six.
he's
6:30.
tired.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Forward march.
Yeah. Okay. It's actually a very wasteful holiday.
All holidays are about excess to some degree. You moron. They're all about indulgence and the good things in life, and to some extent, like a hedonism, but not quite hedonism. It's hedonism with more actual like metaphysical substance behind it. It's Epicureanism. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. All holidays are very like Epicurean and indulgent,
Uh,
but that's what makes them holidays.
Also, like, so if the argument is that like that Valentine's Day is too wasteful, like, what about all the other holidays? I mean, they all, like you said, they're about indulgence and spending a crap ton of money. Like,
The good things in life, and the good things cost. Who knew? Like,
exactly.
they're
Exactly.
supposed to be special. How exactly can a day be special without indulging in the things that make life worth living?
I mean, exactly that. And if you didn't spend something on your significant, and that and spending a little something more kind of means something to your significant other, whoever that person may be.
And ideally would also mean something to you, but never. But once again, we're left with this person being the type of person who considers the obligations they have for other people as a burden rather than a goal to be aspired to.
I like brainstormers like death well there.
Exasperated sigh.
No, that was me yawning.
Jesus Christ, it was like a
It
death
still
wail.
was very thematically appropriate.
You should hear when I stretch in the morning, like when you wake up and stuff. You gotta stretch.
Oh my god.
It basically, I'm not gonna lie, even to me, it sounds like I'm. You know that medieval torture device where they're like stretching someone?
Oh,
The rack.
Yeah.
I told so okay so when I sneeze, right, like because my first cat or my last cat was really like scared by a lot of loud noises. When I sneeze, it frightened him so badly he ran away into like another room entirely. And then like my friend told me that like my sneeze sounds like a dragon or something, because like I go like achoo or some shit.
Yeah, I have a tendency. I don't sneeze often, but when I do, it's the kind of sneeze that like almost blows my nose off my face, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm the same way. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Behind the more modest. Okay. there's a lot to this article is so long.
They love to hear
Yep.
them talk.
They do. They do.
How do you like? How
Sound
do
and fury signifying nothing.
how do you like? It just it's amazing to me that someone can just create just tons of non-points from like a single idea.
Yeah, but this is what they think being intellectual is. This is how they use their minds.
Anyway,
It's tragic, actually, but never mind.
All right, go ahead, brainstormer.
right. Okay. We gotta finish this article. I'm not gonna lie. I think it is literally making me tired.
Because it's so stupid and repetitive. I think that's my biggest issue with it. Is that
It's not even the worst one we're going to be covering tonight, or at least starting tonight.
oh god.
Honestly, I think we
Did you check? Did you see the title of the next one, Corrupt, or haven't you looked?
Let me see. Hold on. Oh no.
If
Oh,
anything, if anything, we might say that for next week and just have topics of discussion.
Yeah,
okay.
But in any case, let's actually get through. Let's get through the first. Let's survive the frying pan before throwing ourselves into the inferno.
Oh Jesus.
All right,
Inferno is right.
gold jewelry sales around Valentine's Day actually generate 34 million tons of mine waste. Oxfam reported in 2005. Today, activists see Valentine's Day as a way to educate people about what they call the dangers of the gold industry because of how common of a present it is, according to the Smithsonian.
You know why? You know why gold and jewelry is such a common present among gifts for Valentine's Day? It's because, as we covered in a previous segment, I think it was last week, but it might have been the week before, men are the ones who spend the majority of the money on Valentine's Day. And they
Yeah.
spend that money on their girlfriends predominantly.
Yeah,
Because-
it's expected of you as a man.
Because women like jewelry because it makes them feel like freaking aristocrats. Granted, men also like jewelry from time to time, but even the men who like jewelry tend to be the type of men who are a little bit more self-indulgent. Like, you know, I'm wearing a ring, and under normal circumstances, if I hadn't forgot to put it on, I would be wearing my necklace. But that's neither here nor there. Point being,
Well, you're also a wizard, so.
well, I mean that this is also true. Like magical jewelry is a thing, but that's neither here nor there. Point being, though, the reason why men, and it is predominantly men, buy jewelry for women, and it is predominantly women, is because women like jewelry and men like seeing women happy.
Pretty much.
No amount of moral gobbledygook is going to change that. That women like shiny, pretty things that make them feel like they're luxurious, and men like seeing their women happy.
Not to mention, it's like a societal expectation as well. Like there's there's a lot of pressure on like buying something for a woman.
Well, and bollocks to society. If your girlfriend is the type of woman who thinks that diamonds are a girl's best friend, and you don't get her jewelry, she might not be angry with you right away, but Lord knows the next time you have a fight, you'll hear about it, and there's a decent chance she will be angry about it right away, depending on how shallow she is.
Yes.
So whether it's going to be the stealth angry of like, I'm going to keep this in my quiver of arguments to use against you for later, or whether it's the overt kind of angry that will then eventually become the stealth kind of angry which I will use against you later. When women don't get their pretty things, they get angry, and when they get angry, they make their significant other's lives a living hell. This shouldn't need to be explained, but it was. Never mind.
Like sometimes you kind of have to.
It's because these people have intellectual themselves out of common sense, and so sometimes you have to put things that should be common sense in the most elaborate, like spelled out point by point language, so they actually have a decent chance of getting it.
And I will say that your I do like the idea of approaching even the stupidest, even the most brain rotten argument in good faith. Though I do appreciate that about you.
Well, it's because, like, sadly enough, it's because I don't really care about people. I care more about logic and ideas. So when I hear something illogical, my brain is just like, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. So I go, okay, I need to like I need to line up the logical troops so that this abomination against the fabric of logic can be murdered to death.
Let's see, well,
All right, moving on.
yep, let's go.
All right, good news. This is I think this is the end. This is the
Thank
end.
we've won. The
It's
day is
the
saved.
end of the world as
Oh,
we know.
I know we got like 3 kind of paragraph left, so. Further, the industry behind the more modest gift of flowers has negative environmental implications, according to the World Resources Institute. Because there isn't much regulation surrounding the cut flower industry, agrochemicals that negatively affect air, soil, and water are used extensively, and pesticides are used more frequently for those flowers than for foods. Plus, think of all the cards and candy and plastic packaging that are purchased around Valentine's Day that eventually just ends up in the trash.
Because people want them, my dear. Like, the reason these things exist is because people want them. And you might be able to make a case for more ethical consumption of flowers or regulating, the pesticide industry or what have you. But apart from those few reasonable regulations, you're never going to convince people that flowers don't smell good and aren't pretty. You're never going to do it. We've been giving each other flowers, and we've been giving flowers to like our deities and using them in like religious and spiritual rituals for thousands and possibly millions of freaking years. You're never going to convince people that jewelry isn't pretty. You're never going to convince people that flowers aren't pretty, and you're never going to convince people that they aren't somehow an extension of love because they're luxurious and they appeal to something that is fundamental to human nature, that is, the part of us that, our frontal lobes switch off and we just immediately go, that is a beautiful thing, I want it.
Exactly.
You're never going to be able to deprogram that, and if you did, the human race would be poorer for it.
Pretty much, because like one thing, like going touching on a little bit what you said, like the more expensive something is, and the more like kind of tells the other person that you got the gift for that. Oh, look at how
You are
much
worth the effort.
they worth the effort. Exactly. Look how much this person loves me. They got me something that was incredibly expensive. Like
Or and also something being expensive is normally symbolic of it being valuable or being rare, or
yeah, pretty much.
usually some combination of both.
Pretty much, yeah.
So it's an extension of, you person that I love are glorious and perfect, and so I will lavish you with glorious and beautiful things that you can have for your own. Like, that's again one of those basic bitch human things that shouldn't need to be explained, but I will anyway.
Pretty much, it's a way of it's exactly like it's a way it tells the person that I mean a lot that you like I mean a lot to them because look how much they're willing to spend on me. Like there's a lot that goes into like valuable gifts that this person just either doesn't understand or just doesn't get. I don't know.
Well, again, it's almost like they've replaced any humanity they have with their hyper strict moral system, to the point that they can no longer even comprehend the simple truths in front of their face. That's the thing. This need the only thing that matters is shit that's hyper intellectual and complicated. When in actuality, true intellectualism is turning complex things simple rather than turning simple things complex. And that's my problem with a lot of academia today. Rather than doing what Socrates would have demanded, of us and breaking things down to their simplest components and then lining those simple components up in as straightforward a fashion as we can. They take things that should be obvious and should be simple, flat out reject very often the simple, straightforward answer because it's not smart enough, quote unquote, and then intuitively concoct some elaborate, usually utilitarian and instrumentalizing mechanism to fill the void of the otherwise simple and straightforward answer. They seem to think simple and straightforward is synonymous with stupid, naive, and sinful almost.
I mean, it's just like, I imagine they think like these are the types of people who think of like the Midwest or flyover country is just a bunch of stupid hicks. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
It's not just wrong, it's actually counterproductive.
It's a little malicious, I would say. What's up, Brainstormer?
Well, I just thought we could move on to the next one.
All
Next-
right.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brainstormer. Let's
Well,
go.
not just because I wanted to kind of somewhat detox from the stupidity of that one.
Yes, let's get something nice and clean.
Let's purge the toxin from our system.
It's a topic of discussion, at least relating to about February, I guess. Shipping.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I have a few. Okay, so just kind of topic questions of this. What is shipping? I actually should have probably looked that up beforehand so I can find definitions of that. But if you guys have like your own definitions of shipping, feel free.
Isn't it just like putting two characters in a relationship, or is that not shipping?
I assumed that was, but I'm curious what like an actual definition of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you the formal definition of shipping, honestly.
I couldn't either. That's all I know. All I know about it is that it's just
it just appears to be the tendency of fans to like to speculate on characters' romantic lives.
All right.
Chrono and Dalton. There you go. That's my ship.
No.
Verb: to make an interest in or hope for a romantic relationship between fictional characters or famous people, whether or not the romance actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's kind of what I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Although I assume mostly for fictional characters.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, some of the earliest ships were IRL people. Like, this is too old for you, Brainstormer, probably. But if anyone remembers Brad Jolena.
Brad and Jolena Lee or
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. I completely butchered her name twice.
Yeah, Brad and Angelina. Brad Jolena.
I somewhat remember that.
I'm actually going to surprise.
And then there was Kay Spears, Kevin Federline, and Britney Spears.
Okay. Okay, I guess second question because that was relatively easy. What makes a ship? Like in terms of
Corrupt and Gabby Rivera. You know what? You're right. I fucking love that weird man-woman's fucking writing.
Why do you have to put these images in my head, Chrono?
I mean, like, if you saw a picture of Gabby Rivera, right? Okay, so I saw a picture of Gabby Rivera. I thought she was George Costanza, but a little dark. I was like, why is like George Costanza like so dark? Isn't he like a white guy? And then I was told that that's not George Costanza, that's Gabby Rivera, and I was like, oh wow, that's mind blowing. Holy shit.
So, in your words, and well, what makes a ship?
As in, like, what makes it compelling, or what makes us
Okay.
want to ship people, or what?
Well, let's start with the latter, and then we'll go to the former.
Okay.
So, why do you think people would ship two characters together? I guess is the actual question.
I mean, it very often comes down to contrast between characters.
Bless you.
Very often people will ship characters who like fill each other's weaknesses, or compensate for each other's faults and so on, or like characters that give each other what the other one needs by being in the relationship with them.
For me, so like the criteria for a ship, are we talking about the criteria for a ship, or what does like a ship mean to me? Like,
I would say kind of both. Let's start with for you personally.
Okay, for me personally, like character, like there has to be like spark between them, like some sort of like chemistry between the two characters. Like I have to believe that, like, realistically speaking, they would be in a relationship, basically. Like a sort of like, it's bonus points if they're kind of flirtatious with each other, and like they know each other. They
Like good
express.
chemistry.
Exactly. They express a chemistry that's just beyond, "Oh, how you doing, buddy?"
Okay.
Basically like that.
Although to be fair, some characters only need that to get that far, like with Sokka and Zuko.
Yeah, like that's why I brought up the Chase
That's rough,
Young.
buddy, is a shippable moment if ever I heard one.
That's why the Chase Young and Wuya thing made me think of them as like a ship, because they have a relationship with each other. That's beyond like
One of my biggest problems with that whole thing is I hated the way they dealt with Wuya in season 2, because it seemed to me that her personality was completely different the second time she became embodied than it was the first time.
I think what I think the problem was that they didn't know how to handle two big villains at the same time. Because if you think about it, right, Shell and Showdown at that point had always been just, there is one central villain and her lackey, which is Jack Spicer,
Yeah,
right?
like
So
Wuya and whoever Wuya can beg, borrow, or steal into the role of serving her, basically.
exactly. So with Chase Young, you have two villains. You don't want to make either villain subservient to the other, but we don't know how exactly to express them as being both threatening at the same time. So
Yeah,
I think,
I just the problem was I think they, in order to make Chase seem like more of a badass, I think they took a lot of Wuya's oomph, both obviously literally in universe, she lost
well,
her powers, but also in terms of like her character and what made
I
her character menacing or interesting.
I will say I disagree with that, because I felt like she was still the same character, but her powers I understand, because like if she had her powers, she would have no equal. And basically she would basically just like conquer everything, because there's really no way to actually fight Wuya.
Well, see, but
Guys,
Okay.
yeah, but in any case, let me finish this point. The thing is, I would have given the show more props though if they had shown Chase being a badass by still mattering to her if she still had her powers. Like, and it's not like she's above valuing people even when she has her powers. I mean, look at what happened with
Oh,
Raimundo.
Yeah. With Raimundo, I will agree with that, because like with Raimundo, I like, yeah, because she did value him. She valued him a lot more than she valued Jack. That was a shame too.
Well,
She
I mean, to
that
be
little
fair,
man deserved
I think
that.
she would have given Jack the same treatment if Jack had been competent.
Competent.
and actually held up his end of the bargain and not been a complete. The thing that made her, opposed to him was when Mala Mala Zhang fell through and she, wanted to basically resume things as normal. He told her to fuck off, essentially. And that was the moment where she was like, okay, well then, if that's how the game is played, then fine.
I
Whereas,
kind go ahead. Okay, all right, okay. I will finish this last point so we can move on. I kind of get where he's coming from. And I like Wuya. She and Chase are my favorite characters in the show. Like, so I say that. So I say this with no disrespect to her. I kind of get where he's coming from because she kind of treats him like shit. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
I mean a bit, yeah. But
All right.
even so, it's like we could discuss Shaolin Showdown after the stream, and we probably will, because God,
All right.
that show was awesome, and I'm glad we grew up with that show.
Okay,
Sorry, Mom.
I guess it's kind of like a mixture of both your guys' definitions of ship, or like what makes a ship to me. Mostly, yeah, it is a lot like with like the chemistry between characters. To be fair, shipping's not really a thing I do often. Like
Because he saw a Tumblr and it traumatized him.
I don't know. I guess I should ship more often because it was really hard for me to come up with the ship, because like when I see two characters interact, I don't necessarily rush to any sort of romantic feelings between the two. It's just
Yeah,
like, this
so,
is cool.
yeah, with me, it's kind of like I'm a dense motherfucker, right? I'm a lot of times, like I've said this before, like specifically with like SGW stuff, I never notice it until like it's pointed out to me.
Oh, I'm the same way when it comes to being dense. Like a chick pushed her titties in my face once and I didn't register.
But my
to
point,
quote Uncle from Jackie Chan Adventures, you are slow on uptake.
right? My point being is, unless it's kind of spelled out for me with like a relationship or a ship or whatever, I don't see it unless unless it is actually just confirmed to me, which is weird.
I guess
I like subtlety. I prefer subtlety when it comes to like writing characters and stuff, but I cannot for the life of me register subtlety when it's being presented to me.
I guess I'm the odd one out because I have a tendency to ship a lot. When I see characters,
you are out of the two gay guys here, you are the most gayest. So,
well, I mean, this is true. This is very true. But in any case, yes, I have a tendency to ship a lot. Mostly because, and this is sad, but especially when the writing of a show or a franchise isn't very good or doesn't live up to my standards, my brain has a tendency of like, well, if you guys aren't going to do this, then I'll do it, and then I immediately start seeing ships, because I see what happens with me is I see potential between characters, and then that potential is never followed up on, and I'm just like, well, fuck it, if you guys aren't going to do it, then I will, because clearly this potential is there and you're not doing anything with it, so fuck you.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I get that. Okay. Moving on to the next question then. Shipping in fandoms. This is a loaded one.
So
Like,
shipping it. Go ahead.
Well, shipping, like, okay, we've all been in like a lot of fandoms, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed I guess more recent decade or so, how
the Tumblr effect, everything is about ships now.
Yeah. Basically, like I think Tumblr was like a mistake for the animation industry, because like so many things are about shipping two characters together. Like for example, right? For like, let's take something like MHA, right? My Hero Academia. Like Bakugo and like what's the little boy's name? I forgot his name. Just completely slipped my mind. Deku ships are everywhere. Like, oh my god. Like,
or speaking of anime, everyone gets shipped with Lelouch in Code Geass. Everyone.
Yes, exactly. Or name any anime, right? With the male protagonist will be shipped with his rival every time. It's
Naruto
so
and
weird.
Sasuke.
Yes.
I don't understand rivalships. That doesn't okay, I get it to some degree with some characters, but I don't understand why it's like the default. Like why ship someone with someone they hate? That
Uh,
never
Uh,
I
I
get it to some degree because to some degree the rivalry can be about flirting.
I,
Like with Batman and the Joker, I understand the obvious subtext of being someone's arch enemy is also being someone's significant other. Like
I do have.
that's something obvious, but
I
like
I'm
some of the time it's
curious.
just like but these characters hate each other and there's no flirtation between the hatred. Like what are you doing?
I'm curious about that. So, did they have any ships in Once Upon a Time or whatever? Like, what's that fandom like?
Yeah, they had a bunch of ships. As I went into last week, Rumpvel is a thing, which I hate
What the
because
hell is Rumpel?
Because Rumpelstiltskin is also is also the beast in
Oh,
Once Upon a
Rump
Time.
Bell. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
Rump Bell. I thought you
yeah,
said Vel. I'm sorry.
no. But as I went into last week, I still maintain to this day that Rumpel should have wound up with Korra because she actually gives a shit about him as a person and doesn't constantly try to fix him every 5 minutes and nag him to shit. But that's neither here nor there. There's also um the Captain Swan ship, which is Emma and Captain Hook, or the Snow Charming ship, which,
Like
to
Snow
be
White
fair,
and
that one
Prince
actually
Charming.
happened in real life because Jennifer Goodwin and Josh Dallas married each other. So
Oh, Snow
that
White and Prince Charming.
that one I'm fine with. Like that, like in universe it makes sense. Out of universe it makes so much sense that it actually happened. So fuck it. Like that's
Oh,
fine. But but yeah, the shipping in Once Upon a Time was ridiculous. I also saw um I also saw Rumpelstiltskin and Zelina getting shipped. I saw Rumpel and Regina getting. Everyone wanted to ship with Rumpel because Rumpel was the most interesting character in the show. Like
um,
Rumpelstiltskin, even when the writing gets really bad, Rumpelstiltskin is the only reason to watch Once Upon a Time.
I guess the one I have the most. This is a fandom I talk about ad nauseum on here and other places.
Uh huh.
Ruby.
yeah, because
Like
you really like Ruby.
holy shit did the shipping take control of that for a while, or still kind of does. No, I'm not entirely sure. Um,
All your characters are belong to us.
it's just like it's somewhat fun because originally the creator, like for the second season, they actually introduced the ship names to be like team attacks for the characters, which I thought was really cool and fun way to like incorporate fans.
Yeah.
But it started to become a little in later seasons. The shipping for the show got a bit. It just got really toxic. I guess I could is the best way I could say it. Like, a, like fans who shipped a certain. Uh,
Ship got harassed for it.
not even that. Bumblebee, which is like Blake Belladonna and Yang Xiaolong, who are like two of the main characters of the show. They were shipped profusely, and they started writing those characters to start becoming a couple. And I'll talk about that certain thing for the next topic we'll get into after. But it's just it got super. It, honestly, shipping kind of really divided and fractured the community of Ruby, like the fan community of Ruby.
It what so it so it so it pulled the Supernatural because Supernatural. Speaking of shows that got really heated with ships,
What? Voltron?
No, Supernatural.
Oh, they even parodied that in one of the episodes. That
Yeah.
got tremendous amount of shipping. Like Sam and Dean is like everywhere. Like holy shit.
I've heard
I kept seeing Dusty L.
Oh right,
Demon
because everyone
Castiel.
really liked Castiel. Yeah, they did. People were in love with him. Holy shit.
Sam and Rowena actually kind of worked for me. Like when I saw that ship, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Like
it's
that's like.
a good thing I was never like a big fan of Supernatural.
Did anybody ship God with anyone, or was he just too plain looking as a dude for anybody
Well,
to care?
for a while we didn't know he was God, and then when we did know he was God, he was kind of a dick. So I don't think anyone did.
Um,
I don't think anyone shipped Lucifer, which is weird to me.
That's
a bunch of people,
weird because Lucifer was hot.
a bunch of people shipped Gabriel because Gabriel was the fun archangel.
Like Lucifer was hot though. No one shipped him, really.
No.
I have no comment.
Well, okay. I think back in like season 5, there was a brief stint where Sam and Lucy were together shipped.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the thing. A lot of people ship the angels and their vessels.
That's weird.
A lot.
Like Supernatural did have a lot of ships though. God, like even the show acknowledged it by like.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it came out at just the right time to be like the first shipping community on Tumblr. So
that's true.
I get it, kind of. And there is a lot of like chemistry that you could interpret as unresolved sexual tension. So.
Alright.
So
I get it, but it's still like it kind of destroyed the fandom eventually.
So last question for shipping, then we'll move on to the next topic.
All
right. When does shipping go too far, in your opinion?
When it absorbs literally every other plot point.
Yeah. When it becomes more important to like get two characters you like to fuck over everything else, then yeah, I'd say it goes too far. Like
or if it's the primary reason to watch the show, then it's probably gone too far. Like even shows that were kind of designed that way, of like the relationship was the main thrust of the show, like with Bones. I hate when the relationship is the only reason to watch a thing, because it's like after the biggest problem, and I mentioned this to Brainstormer I think on Thursday, but the biggest problem with modern day relationship writing is they never know what to do with characters once the
Dom, we'll get to that next topic. So
okay, never mind then. I will withhold my point for later use.
All right.
I think we can all agree is like if it really is just like it encompasses everything else, or
when they have to retcon the characters to make a ship work. That also is a sign of it going too far.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's pretty much it for shipping. I honestly thought we'd talk longer about that, but no.
I would much prefer the shipping talk to some idiotic article.
The next thing we're doing.
Yes.
Romance writing. So just our general thoughts on that, I guess. Like to start off, I suppose.
Okay, well, the biggest problem for me in modern day romance writing is so much of the relationship is built on unresolved sexual tension, to the point that when the characters actually get together, when their feelings are consummated, their relationship basically dies because the writers just simply don't know how to actually write a stable, committed relationship. Either their relationship dies because the writers just focus less on the characters after that, or their relationship dies because in order to keep the relationship interesting, they have to keep breaking them up and forcing them to make up over and over and over again because they can't seem to figure out how to write a stable, happy relationship.
I mean, I think he kind of said everything we were going to say.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, the issue with romantic writing is, like you said, once everything is about the chase. So after the chase is over, there's really nothing left except
Um,
just bland.
I do think there are some stories that actually do handle what comes after well. They're very few and far between, obviously.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm not saying there are no stories that handle that well. I'm just saying it seems to be a industry standard that so much of romance writing is about the meet cuting and the unresolved sexual tension and the thrill of the chase, and then once the goal is accomplished, it's like, well, that happened. These characters are irrelevant now.
Yeah, it's just like, well,
Or we'll have them have a baby and that'll be the end of it, basically.
I feel like it's an issue. I feel like it's kind of an issue where writers just have characters and don't even know what to do with the characters anymore. So it's just like,
They don't understand their own characters. Just, yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
just become just like
Uh,
side plots.
Nuts. Chronon said something really funny in the.
Brainstormer needs a female who will help him grow.
Oh no, I was talking about the one before that.
See, I can't ship Crow up with anyone. He needs a rich buy man to take care of him and heal him for a while. That's pretty funny. I will give you that, Crono.
Given Corrupt's cringe loving tendencies, he probably should be shipped with Slanesh from Warhammer.
I could see that. That does sound like a good ship to me.
Okay, so this is interesting. To kind of, well, not to start off, obviously, because we just did general thoughts. But what is your least favorite trope for romance writing? Let's start with you, Dalton.
My least favorite trope is probably the second act breakup that we could resolve if we just acted like human beings, but we now need to unravel all the progress we've made as in a relationship because dramatic reasons. Like that always I always hate that. Either have the relationship take longer to establish so that it actually takes up the majority of the project, or have the characters actually be happy together and have whatever conflict they need to face afterwards be external to their relationship. Because this whole second act breakup thing, and I assume most people know what I mean, even though, like, I'm not just referring to movies, although it happens a lot in movies. What I mean is the stupid, well, we're not going to talk like normal people, or we're not going to communicate like an actual couple because the author requires that we have a dramatic breakup in this exact scene. I hate that shit.
Let me see.
Yeah, I get that. How about you, Corrupt?
Mine is okay. So I don't know if this is an exact trope, but I hate, like, I'll use what's the shit? What's that movie Orville? There we go, that TV show Orville. I'll use Orville as an example, right? I hate when they have a relationship like on the Orville where the doctor and the android guy, right?
Isaac.
Isaac, thank you. Isaac start to have a relationship and it blossoms into something more, and then some unnecessary bullshit happens and just nukes it from orbit. And that
The wire
happens
revealed thing, yeah.
exactly, and that happens so often where you'll have relationships where they
They
go
fixed
ahead.
it, by the way, in the newest season.
Yeah, like I was told they got married, but I haven't gotten a chance to see
Yeah.
the latest season. But like, I really hate that because it feels so like contrived. Like, oh, two characters are getting together. We need to like create drama between them. So let's just nuke their relationship.
I think Corrupt and I are kind of on the same page with this whole like they're fine, everything is glorious and perfect and wonderful, and then dun 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 something happens and now it all gets burnt to the ground. Like, yeah, it's really freaking annoying.
It really is.
Yeah,
It's just
I can agree with that. So mine's a weird one.
all right.
I think it's weird. At least tell me if it is weird.
Okay.
Love at first sight is kind of my least favorite romantic trope.
Oh, when people first see each other and they're like, "Oh, I like you."
Huh. Bless you.
Thank you.
That is a little bit of a weird one.
Yeah, I don't agree, but please feel free to explain your thing.
So I guess it really depends, obviously, on on case by case scenario, obviously, because there are good ones. I'm not going to deny that. I think the way I have an issue with it, in the ways it's been shown to me in the media I've absorbed over the years, is that as soon as it happens, they immediately start acting like a couple, or whatever. There's no there's no expansion or
no build up.
There's no build up of the relationship, basically.
Yeah, basically. Like, don't get me wrong, I could agree that the love at first sight thing could work, but there has to be like some build up to an actual relationship happening after that.
They have to meet cute first.
Yeah. Ironically, I kind of think Hotel Transylvania, like the first movie, does it kind of well.
Where they like each other, but the relationship comes after.
It still builds from there.
After the build up, yeah.
Yeah, it still builds up from that. So that is kind of So the love at first sight thing, like the love at first sight, is technically not the issue. It's more so usually the handling of it that is kind of my problem, I guess.
Yeah, I'll agree with that because I know what you mean. It's like it feels like they're going from 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds rather than.
Yeah, there needs to be some time to build up the relationship first before they're in head over heels in love.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't bother me because I don't see that trope too often. Maybe it's just the kind of romance that I'm into, but most of the romances that I'm into always have that build up, so I've never had the like instant. I've never had that become enough of an issue where I noticed it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'm the same way because like while I have seen a few of that trope somewhat, like it's usually followed up by like like building up the relationship to where it's something that people actually want to see.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm the youngest one here, obviously, so I think I've seen a lot more like very like childish shows and stuff. Like
you've seen Zoomer TV, so Corrupt and I are coming at it from like millennial standards, and we're like, well, our
Zoomer
stuff that we grew up with was always more complicated than that. And you're like, yeah, but I'm a Zoomer.
To be fair, I'm in that weird middle ground where I'm not like a full Zoomer.
Well, let me see. So
90. He was born in 99, so yeah.
So that makes you a millennial, I think.
No,
I think the millennial cutoff is 96. So he's actually a fairly standard Zoomer as far as I'm aware.
All right,
he's not young enough to be Gen Alpha. That would be like my youngest brother's age.
I tried to save you by saying you were a Zillennial, Brainstormer.
I'm in this weird like mid.
Well, I think what it is you're. I think what it is you're an old soul, so you end up relating to people older than you, generally.
I'll be honest. Most of like kind of friends I had in school were mostly the teachers, or the ones I got along with the most were the teachers.
Yeah.
You are an old soul. Yeah.
I was the same way, where like most of my friends were actually the teachers rather than the other students until like junior year when I finally got a stable group of friends.
Most of my friends were girls. That
Yeah,
is
I
true.
had a phase like that in middle school too, where all my friends were girls.
Right. Never had that.
Really?
To be fair, I did not. I was very like I was the kid who always sat in the corner, just keeping to himself, doing my work and stuff.
Okay. I can see that.
I was that way like starting in 8th grade through like junior year, but after junior year I finally got a stable group of friends. What helped that was my school merged with another school in our district, so like we got a bunch of new students, so there wasn't quite as much baggage to start off with them.
Okay,
I
so
guess.
the next thing, this is going to be a fun one. I'm sure this is everyone's, and I'm saying this sarcastically, of course, everyone's favorite little trope. So, what are your thoughts on will they, won't they?
Again, it's very much the problem of when a show or movie is based on will they won't they. Number one, the unnecessary like makeups and breakups thing happens that Corrupt and I were just talking about, where like it'll seem like they're doing fine and then something will happen to set them back, and it'll seem like they're doing fine again and something will happen to set them back, and over and over and over again. But also the other thing I was talking about, where like because romance writers in this day and age only know how to write unresolved sexual tension, once the chase is over, they don't know what to do with the characters. Like will they won't they basically embodies all of the problems we've already outlined with romance. You've got the unnecessary random second act breakups that destroy the relationship, and then you've also got the we don't know how to write anything
The
past the
chase?
point of commitment, basically.
Yeah. Let's see. How to I'd say I feel about this. I'd say I feel about the same when it comes to will they, won't they. One thing I don't really. Okay, so on some occasions I'm okay with it, but for the most part, it's like Dalton out just kind of outlined. It's the same sort of issues of like unnecessary like shit happening or whatever.
Well, the other problem with will they won't they's is the answer is obviously yes they will,
Yeah,
and so trying to milk the idea of will they won't they when we all know yes they will and any other ending would be unsatisfactory, it's just stupid. It's like we all know they will, we're all here to see them do that, have them do that.
Right.
Like cut out the fluff, just give us what we all came for, please.
But also the thing is, like, they never really. The weird thing about will they, won't they is the whole the shallowness of it as well.
Yeah, it is very shallow.
And I guess that's kind of my issue with it is like it. They never really get a deep dive into the characters and like their thoughts on like this kind of will they, won't they situation. Like there's never really like been a back and forth. And don't get me wrong, there are good examples of will they, won't they, like what I said with the trope before. Honestly, the one that comes to mind rather well is Hercules and Meg from Hercules.
oh yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if we were talking about the original mythology, the answer is probably for her safety not to, but
Jesus.
they changed a lot in Disney's.
Oh my god, can you imagine what sex with Hercules must be like? Holy shit, it must be like a jackhammer against
Don't
concrete. Oh my god.
don't threaten me with a good time, Corrupt. We'll be here all day
Oh
while
my god. Like for you
I'll
maybe,
have
but
to
like
I'll
I
have to
am
excuse myself from the stream for like 5 minutes.
I imagine I'm talking about for a woman, like, oh my god, it's like having a jackhammer straight into your fucking
Well,
vagina. Jesus
it's
Christ.
the same thing of like, can you imagine what Clark and Lois must be like
Oh,
when they.
where I'm not having that image in my head.
Okay, so does anybody know what everyone here has read The Boys, or at least familiar with it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when Homelander, so when Homelander orgasms, he can destroy things. Literally,
Yeah.
he blows things apart, and it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I just want.
Funnily enough, I've already told you about the Lionhearteds, and I'll explain what I'm about to say after the stream so that we don't spoil people and stuff. But we ended up having to do a funny version. We came up with a pretty unique solution to this problem with regards to my self-insert character and the Superman-ish character that's his boyfriend. So I'll have to explain to you what our solution to this problem was in the post stream portion of the day.
All right.
For the record, I just want to point out I don't like The Boys.
Really?
No, it's very nihilistic and cynical. I agree with him.
I agree. Actually, I agree with you. I don't like The Boys either. The only reason I brought up The Boys is because it illustrates
because it
what I was
shows
thinking about,
it shows the ejaculation as like land mime thing.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I do not like The Boys. I hate.
The thing is, I don't. For the record, I don't. I especially hate the comic, and I've seen videos talking about it.
The show is better than the show is a lot better than the comic because they do more than just, hey guys, isn't the superhero genre stupid?
Okay, wait. Okay, so I have a question. I have got to ask Dalton. I will ask you, is it worth reading the comic if you've before watching the TV show, or no?
I would say no because I think the show actually handles it better, and they change and add enough that the show is kind of, it works as its own entity. The most I can say is like the comic will allow you to have some familiarity with the characters, but I think even if you go in not knowing much about the comic, I think you'll get on board with the characters fairly quickly because they are very derivative of DC and Marvel characters, obviously, because the Seven is supposed to be the Justice League / Avengers type team.
I think I don't like it, obviously because of the cynical and nihilism, and also just like it shits on the superhero genre and doesn't really understand it. To be fair, I think at least I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's all very surface level. Hey, if Superman actually existed, he would be a fascist character, derp. Can we just let that go? Can we let the Superman is all powerful, therefore he must be a fascist thing go?
We're off topic. I'm sorry.
But nevertheless, back to.
So this is an interesting one. I just wrote this down. What are your thoughts on Happily Ever After?
The concept or the TV show?
There's a TV show.
I didn't know there was a TV show called Happily Ever After. It doesn't surprise me that there is, but yeah.
I mean more so the concept, I suppose.
This might strike you as kind of weird, but I like it. I like the idea of a nice, of a nice, happy, upbeat ending to a story, as opposed. But that's largely because I'm ensconced myself in like cringe and just like really dark media, so seeing something like upbeat and light is nice.
Okay.
That's why I like Superman.
Okay.
I'm kind of the same way. I'm so sick of nihilistic, cynical, downer endings being treated as intellectual and anything that's positive or happy being treated as naive. My only thing is, I think this is related to the point I made earlier about how romance writers never know how to actually write the relationship. My only problem with Happily Ever Afters is because they're used to end things. We never actually get to see the actual fact of the characters being happy. We sort of are left to imagine the characters being happy when happily ever after happens. And I've always been fascinated with the idea of how does that function day to day? Like how does a happily ever after actually look with regards to characters?
You know what? That yeah, that was kind of what I was going to go with too, as well. Like you want more after happily ever after, but
especially because it's so much work to get there. Like actually getting to see the characters being happy together would be nice.
Exactly.
okay.
That's exactly how I feel about it.
All right, like so we're kind of all in agreement of like it's good, probably should be more of it, and it always leaves you wanting more as well.
Yeah, happy endings are good. The only problem is they're endings, which means we don't get to see more after.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's basically how I feel.
All right. So here's another fun one. What are your thoughts on love triangles?
It depends on the love triangle, but frankly, I have what I believe is the perfect solution to this. The biggest problem with love triangles is in a sane world they would just become a throuple. Like that's that's where I'm at with love triangles. It's like every time I see a love triangle, I'm like, why can't you all just be together? Like that
I,
would solve all of these problems.
I,
Rather than having to choose between one and the other, just all three of you bang.
I suppose I guess it's because like a lot of people really like like monogamy and commitment to one another, but I kind of agree. Like I would also like for people to just be like, let's all just bang together.
Right.
Yeah, it's not that complicated. Like you all like each other, you all are obviously committed to each other. Just short circuit this whole love triangle thing and bang.
Okay, so I'm coming at this from the perspective because I grew up watching Disney Channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yes.
Disney Channel sitcoms of like the mid to 2000s to early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they a lot of them did the fucking love triangle shittily, I might add.
Yeah, I remember like
So
what was the Hannah Montana one? Was it Jake and Jesse that was the love triangle? And
I'll be honest, I
the
never really watched Hannah
the
Montana.
the thing is like Disney Channel, like a lot of the Disney Channel is kind of aimed at girls, and a lot of women like love triangles and shit, so it's like really popular.
Right.
fair play. But
So
I mean, also to be fair, as cringy as some of the ones I grew up with are, or the ones that Corrupt and I would have grown up with are, it's gotten worse now. And I know there's a tendency for nostalgia for always looking back at the things and going that you grew up with and going, my version of this was better than your version of this. But I never really stopped watching Disney Channel much, so it was like I actually was able to see the slow downgrade of like I remember even kid shows being more competently written than this. It's like the difference between the High School Musical franchise and the Descendants franchise. I appreciate them both, and I'm well aware I might have some nostalgia for the former rather than the latter. But even looking at it as objectively as I can, I think the High School Musical franchise is better than the Descendants franchise, just on a writing standpoint.
so again, like I think the issue with me is like again specifically relating to the Disney sitcoms, is that more or less the love triangle doesn't make sense to me on the fact that you already have these two characters that already have like established relationship and are
Yeah.
doing together, and then you just throw this random person in for no fucking reason.
And then, of course, if we're talking about love triangles that affected our childhoods, we're gonna have to talk about the Team Edward versus Team Jacob thing.
Hey, that's what I was thinking about.
God
It's
damn it!
it's gotta be done. It's unfortunately gotta be done.
I want this.
I mean,
I want to point this out. That was kind of before my time.
Jesus, like you're
You are so young.
you're like a sperm cell. Jesus Christ.
You are
Okay, again, if
you are so young. You have not like I'm literally quoting off-brand Galadriel from Rings of Power. You have not seen what I have seen.
dude. Okay, one, I was busy having a really tough life at that time.
Yeah, I know. Superhero backstory and all that is, but you know.
So I was so the whole love triangle bullshit that was going on there was kind of in my periphery.
Yeah.
Periphery. You had it right.
Yeah, you had it right. Yeah.
But yeah, I it was not something I could get into.
Uh-huh.
I
But
mean, yeah, I could see that.
yeah, but in any case, in particular, my standard approach of why don't just all three of you bang works here. But frankly, because Bella is such a because Bella is such a blank slate, nothing of a character. In this case, I'd rather Jacob and Edward just bang. Like I'm all for polyamory, but frankly, Bella never contributed anything to the relationship other than wrapping them both around her little finger. So like
I agree.
I don't like her as a character.
Yeah, I'd agree with that actually. Yeah.
Like I actually like the boys more than her as a character because both of them have points that actually make them somewhat interesting characters, whereas Bella just like she doesn't even have them wrapped around her little finger for like character based reasons. It's literally just a because the plot says so. They're inextricably drawn to her because the plot says so, and never shall we reconsider any of the above. Like I don't. It's not that I don't get it because I get I get the reason why it's there. The reason why it's there is because Bella is meant to be the blank slate for the audience to project themselves onto, and if you give her a character specific reason why they're drawn to her, then the audience can't project themselves into her place. Also, they like people like having the idea of somehow, some way, through no actions of my own, the world will just hand me what I want on a silver platter. I get that sort of wish fulfillment thing. But at the same time, it leaves me with the notion of, under normal circumstances, I would be advocating that love triangle turn into a throuple. But one of these characters is not like the others, and so the boys should just bang each other. That's my answer.
Let's see. My Okay, so on one hand, I do like the love triangles because they can be interesting, but I do kind of agree with Dalton when it's just why not just fuck. And it's an interesting thing to play with as like a writer because I'm also playing with that trope as well. Um,
Okay.
but other than that, though, I could take them or leave them. To be honest with you, but like I do kind of like them, but I don't know. I can take them or leave them.
My problem with them is they always seem so contrived and arbitrary, where it's like,
Yeah, like it's just meant
Yeah.
for the sake of creating drama and friction, right?
and again, it's like all of this becomes irrelevant if you just consider the option of polyamory.
Like
Like
also
just
like I wouldn't have like again speaking again as someone who's watched Disney sitcoms. It would have made more sense if you started all like if you had the series introduce that pretty early on in the series.
Mhm.
You know,
What specific shows are you talking about? Because my notion of what the Disney Channel is probably different from your definition of what the Disney
I don't
Channel
know.
is because of the time gap.
I don't know if you. I'm sorry, Ahsoka Tano just said something.
What stupid Disney show we talking about? Two
Um,
guys and one girl. Not really, unless she is into spit roasting. That's what I'd say.
I mean, but the thing is, especially when it's these cheesy over the top romances where the boys will do anything the girl wants because she's the girl.
s-
That just means that she gets um two subservient love slaves instead of just one. I can't imagine she wouldn't be happy with that.
Let me say, like, that's two guys and one girl. Not really, unless she's into spit roasting. I'd make that joke, huh?
right. Fuck, I was living Maddie. Anyone's seen that show?
That was after my
Hold on,
tenure.
let me look it up. What is it called?
Liv and Maddie, I believe. It's been a while. Like it was in early.
I know of it because I've seen it like
Oh,
on the
Live
TV
and
guide or
Maddie.
something. But yeah, that was after my tenure as
Oh,
someone who
so is
watched
this
it.
like a high school or something?
It was like about two twin sisters who were one was like a jock tomboy, and the other was
Oh, this is their sister with white people.
Or, or Sweet Life of Zack and Cody with girls.
Yes.
I grew up on Zack and Cody actually. Yeah, so
I think we all did because it was one of Disney Channel's best rated and longest running shows. Although I bet by the time it was by the time it was your turn, they had already transitioned to On Deck
no,
rather than.
I was seeing reruns before they did On Deck, and then I started watching that.
Hmm.
But
Can I say something incredibly petty? I don't
Of
like
course you
Cody and
can.
Bailey together. Um, speaking of the Sweet Life franchise, I don't like Cody and Bailey. I always preferred Cody and Barbara, his girl from uh,
Boston,
the
Dalton
original series.
Ahsoka, Dalton is 27.
I'm uh, I'm 20. I'm gonna.
23?
Uh, I'll be honest. I lost track.
But
I've lost track of how old I am. Sometimes I don't leave my house. Okay, much.
there are 4 years between us. I'm 27, and you haven't had a birthday since your
November.
last one where you were 23. So I'm betting you're 23.
Okay, yeah. Sorry,
It is part of my duties as your friend apparently to keep track of your age for you.
I was
What?
born 99, 1999. So okay.
So Ahsoka's in her early 20s as well. Look at that, Brainstormer. You're not alone. There
Okay.
you go. Oh, Ahsoka's 22.
So Ahsoka is actually a year younger than you, Brainstormer.
Look at
Anyway,
that. You
Oh
found
dear, I feel old now.
you can find love in the comments there, Brainstormer. There you go.
He already might be spoken for with regards to that.
Really? I'm
it's
proud of
a
you,
whole.
Brainstormer.
It's a whole thing.
It's a long
I'm proud
story.
of you. I'm proud of you, Brainstormer.
Right. I was gonna say something.
Remember to dip your dick into crazy at least once in your lifetime.
No,
No,
he wouldn't survive it. He wouldn't survive it.
no. I'm already related to crazy. I don't need more.
Yeah,
That's fair.
the other uncle of yours. Oh boy.
No, I'm just talking about my. I'm just talking about my family in general.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just remembered the other plausible crazy in your family. Anyway, moving on.
Sorry. I lost my train of thought. Liv and Maddie, love triangle. Yeah, they have this established like growing romance between like uh one of the main characters uh and uh and their love interest. And then they just introduced like this random one dude in like I don't know what is it, the second or third season of it. And they created a love triangle and stuff, and It was so contrived.
Love triangles usually are, and that's what annoys me about them because it's like, again, either pick one of them and stick to it, or just be an adult and be a throuple.
Well, they're teenagers in high school. I doubt that would actually on a Disney show too. So
Well, okay, modern day Disney probably would let polyamory slip because they're modern day Disney. I understand. I understand why we couldn't have had one when I was growing up or when Corrupt was growing up. But honestly, we're getting to the point now where Disney probably would allow for a throuple, and that would be the one case of like lefty social justicey type stuff where I'm like, okay, someone finally was sane. Because love triangles piss me off because it's so fucking arbitrary that they just won't. Like, we all like each other for various different reasons. Why can't we just be adults about the situation and be a
Because,
throuple?
so I will defend against that idea just a little bit, just for the sake of playing devil's advocate, right? So okay, you got to consider that like I may like this person and you may like this person and this person might like either of us, but that doesn't mean that we like each other. You know?
Okay, that might be fair, but once again, that would be actually something interesting that would be worth going into. That would actually make a love triangle make sense of like have two people, have two people, like have someone actually be the adult and offer the throuple, and then have someone have an issue with it. That would
Yeah.
be an interesting. That would actually be an interesting plot point.
Or if you're like straight and or say you're straight and it's like say it's two like say straight women, right? Or two straight dudes and it's one woman or one guy that they're both into. Like, I mean, it's kind of weird to have like a threesome at that point.
I mean, it would, but again, it that would be something that would be worth going into. I just get annoyed that it's never brought up. No one ever thinks to like, wait, why don't we just cut out the middleman and not choose?
Possibly,
uh,
probably because most people just don't think that way, I would say.
that's probably true. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I am for the last 10, 15 minutes. I have been trying to struggle to stay awake. So,
No problem.
uh, so yeah, I think we're gonna call it. And with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, avideze, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Welcome.
Oh, there we go.
also, Ahsoka, you sound like you've lived a very interesting life.
You really have.
So yeah, we will see you all next week. Okay.
I mean, it's okay. Wow, you really have had an interesting life. She knows 3 serial killers. That's pretty fucking interesting.
Neat.
Anyway, yeah.
I only know one sociopathic serial arsonist.
I knew one, but he died.
I wouldn't be surprised if the one that I knew died. In fact, I would be kind of grateful if the one I knew died. Not because he was a sociopath and a serial arsonist, but because he was also an anti-theist and was a complete dick about it. Like, I can take anti-theism and I can take sociopathy, but I can't take them both together. That is something I learned in college.
Yeah,
That's why you don't go to Reddit.
guys.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
I'm about ready to pass out. So.
Okay, we're leaving. Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Goodbye and fuck off.